First class.
Mistaken for a spy.
I can drive this baby out of here right now, right?
Yeah. All he has to do is rescue a beautiful girl, save Europe, and graduate high school.
What have you done?
Just like this. Hey, Richard Grieco. No problem. If Looks Could Kill. Rated PG-13. Now playing at a theater near you.
Hey, folks. Welcome back. We are here at Unfinished Business Television. But as you know, we always have a special place in our heart for the Deep Dive. That is where we take a look at a movie. We review it, but also offer trivia and our thoughts of a film that has been... It's been a while since it has been released, so not the new and latest films here. So I am your host, Jeff Galashaw at Unfinished B2. And with me, as always, is Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
Everybody needs to salute their French teachers.
Yes, and this week we are talking about 1991's If Looks Could Kill, starring the great Richard Grieco, Linda Hunt, Roger Rees, Robin Bartlett, Gabrielle Anwar, Roger Daltrey of The Who, Geraldine James, and Carol Davis as Ariola Canasta. Now, Andre, this was your pick. Explain why you picked If Looks Could Kill.
So If Looks Could Kill, 1991. I was 8 years old when this movie came out. I did not see it in the theater, but at that time, there was a cartoon on television called James Bond Jr. Now, we all look down on this today as the dark times of the James Bond franchise. This was 2 years after License to Kill came out, and it was the first year in a long time we didn't really have a Bond film in that, every 2 years there'd be a new movie. But I was a big James Bond Jr. fan, so even though there was never a movie of it, this looked pretty close to what I would envision a James Bond Jr. movie looking like. And Richard Grieco was hot off of 21 Jump Street. This was his first big film, and I was really excited when this came out on cable, and I loved it as a kid. Rewatching it today, I actually still enjoy it, even for the flaws that it has, believe it or not. So, long story short, with this movie, you have Richard Grieco playing Michael Corbin. He's a Detroit high school kid who's supposed to graduate high school, but he can't graduate because he flunked French class. So he's forced to go with his classmates to France on a field trip so he can get his A, and then he'll be off to college. What he doesn't know is that there's another agent that happens to have the same name as him, who is an American agent assigned to go after this guy, Augustus Steranko, who's this big, I guess he has ties with all these rich bankers, but he has evil, world-threatening plots that all the governments are afraid he could do some serious damage to the world, so they have to hire this guy to stop him. But there's a mix-up at the airport because the real Michael Corbin gets killed by Linda Hunt, who plays this guy Steranko's right-hand woman. And because of the switch-up, this guy goes to the register, and they think, that the same Michael Corbin is this high school kid. So he gets the first-class ticket. He gets the little the clip thing with the wings, because everybody thinks, okay, this is the guy that's going to save the day. And then the British government brings him in, and they give him everything that a kid ever wanted. They give him that cool-ass car. They give him the cool sneakers that walk on walls. They give him the exploding gum. And he's the unlikely hero who doesn't realize until they give him all this stuff that, yeah, you're the one that's going to save the world. Is no, I'm just a French reject in high school. But okay, I'll do it. The car, give it all to me. So this unlikely teenager has to save the world and steps up to the plate, and in the process teams up with Gabrielle Anwar, who plays Roger Daltrey's daughter, who wants revenge because he's a British agent that got killed by these guys, and she wants revenge against them. Okay, so backstory about this film. Fred Decker of the Monster Squad This was a picture that he wrote and had planned to direct for TriStar back in the 80s. And he wrote this movie in mind with Anthony Michael Hall coming off of The Breakfast Club because he was a big Anthony Michael Hall fan and he loved the idea of taking that geeky character from Breakfast Club and 60 Candles and making him an unlikely super agent. Um, and it was going to be made. They had a budget, they were ready to go, but there were changes at TriStar. I think Monster Squad's failure may have had something to do with it. And it went into a turnaround. So when Warner Brothers got it, rewrote the script, they actually hired Darren Star, who created Sex and the City and Beverly Hills 90210, to rewrite the script. They hired William Deere, who did Harry and the Hendersons, to direct. And for some reason, they decided, we want to not just make this a movie for teens, but we want it to appeal to parents as well. So we want to change the title. And at one point, it wasn't even going to be called Teenage. They were going to call it Nothing But Trouble, believe it or not, before they went with If Looks Could Kill, because they had another movie with that title. And Richard Grieco, let's again set the timetable of the 90s and the late 80s. 21 Jump Street, he's playing Dennis Booker, this dirty cop that ends up joining the Jump Street team. He was supposed to get killed off, but the women went so crazy for this guy every week. Like, he suddenly took Johnny Depp's thunder for a little bit. They gave this guy a spinoff show, Booker, for one season. And he was like this hotshot private eye working for a Japanese-owned corporation solving crimes, basically to try to make like a modern-day Rockford Files. Didn't last long, but the industry thought, hey, this guy's got the chops to be a movie star, so let's bank in on it. And he was also a former model, so that also helped. The problem here is this guy's like 20-something years old. You're trying to have him play a high school student. And
yes,
away from the premise of the fact that it's supposed to be this geeky kid, but it's Richard Grieco. He's too cool. He's a model. He's not a geek. I don't buy it. But weirdly enough, even though he's miscast, he still kind of makes it entertaining because he's not phoning it in. Like, he's actually having fun with it. You want to be his character all through this, to save the girl, save the day, get all the cool gadgets and shit, and kill some bad guys at the process, which, again, is also pretty over the top and absurd, but we'll get to all that stuff later. But the thing about this movie, before we get into all the trivia and, get your thoughts on it, I think I'm entertained by it because even though it is ripping off Bond, it still has those tropes where there's so much to like about it. I mean, Gabrielle War is incredibly gorgeous and sexy. And Roger Reeves eats up the scenery as the villain. Like, he is just having so much fun playing this squirmy bad guy, Steranko. And just all those moments in there, even like, I'm going to nail your ass to the wall. Oh, that's so painful. Like, that stuff is funny to me. And Linda Hunt also steals every scene. Just all those moments where she's like abusing the French teacher is just freaking hilarious. And Robin Bartlett also, amazing as the French teacher and stepping up at the end to be like the badass that everybody's afraid she could be. So there's so much fun and entertainment and escapist B-movie shit that still makes this a fun movie to watch today, even with its flaws. It is still a good movie. Jeff, what are your thoughts on Kill?
Well, unlike you, I was old enough, so I did see this in movie theaters. I was into the Grieco fame because I watched 21 Jump Street at the time and Booker, and I thought, okay, this guy seems pretty cool. I still, at that time, Johnny Depp for life. And he took Johnny Depp's spinoff show. But, I automatically, even watching the movie, was like, wait, Richard Grieco looks way too old. Even watching 21 Jump Street, he looked too old to be an undercover cop in high school. That's why all of a sudden they started going undercover at colleges. But I thought he was fine in the lead role, again, it's more of a comedic performance until the second half of the film where he kind of realizes everything. Gabrielle Anwar, oh my God. This is the first time I think I really remember seeing her in. And just seeing her on screen, it was like, wow.
And she still looks great today.
Yes. And she was actually a replacement for actress Bridget Bacco, another actress who, please come on the show because I want to know what happened, because she is gorgeous and she definitely would have matched Richard Grieco kind of more on screen. It would seem like kind of a soap opera because they're both so beautiful. Whereas Gabrielle Anwar comes off more as an innocent, even though she's supposed to be dangerous. And I know, maybe it's the thing, but I remember the scene from the trailer with the eyeglasses, the X-ray, and Carol Davis playing Areola, and she was so gorgeous. This is why I think I like the film, because I feel like all the creative elements, I could be wrong, but I feel like Fred Dekker put in all those more creative elements. Yeah. And obviously he was a fan of the 007 film, so this was like his own version, but he put kind of a different comedic spin on it. And, I liked the right-hand man who never talked.
Yeah, totally out of a Bond film.
Yeah, and some of these actual things ended up in Bond film, well, not Bond films, but spy films. The exploding gum,
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, so I like it as that, even though I wasn't familiar with the Bond movies, I knew of the character, but I didn't know, the tropes of the movies. So watching it now after having seen a bunch of Bond films, it's like, this totally goes along in line. I mean, this is a film. William Dear is a director who I can't help but like, even though he's mostly a family film director, Harry and the Hendersons, the remake of Angels in the Outfield. He's just a director who, to me, so far, at least out of the films I've seen, can do no wrong. Even that Ryan Reynolds, David Paymer movie, School of Life, that's heartwarming. I like that he made. I don't know what Darren Star added to this other than maybe the youth. And I also like that on this trip, Michael Corbin's just hoping to get next to the high school girl. And here he gets this international, spy's daughter of all people by the end. And like you said, I like the revolving comedy around the French teacher in this class trip, how they keep getting kidnapped by each side, secret agents, and, his best friend ending up with the girl at the end, and the French teacher going full on commando. I agree with you about Linda Hunt and Roger Rees, because I both feel like they know how ridiculous this is, but they still do not show any embarrassment and play their characters to the hilt. And this is one of those few roles where it's like, Linda Hunt, you can't imagine anybody else being perfect for the role, And I like that it stays clean. It's violent as hell, but it is still a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, the most dirty it gets is when he's trying to bang the Areola chick. He can't get the condoms out.
Yes, and she loses the scorpion down her dress. Again, I mean, still to this day, I still remember her in that scene. I also remember the car scene of him racing with Gabrielle Anwar down the road, and he can't figure out his car, which of course helps him when it comes to the villains who are following him. Thank God it wasn't called Teen Agent. I still would have watched it under Nothing But Trouble. But If Looks Could Kill kind of works,
Yeah, it's very Bond-like, and probably would have been a good Bond theme.
I just feel like Darren Star was the one who came up with the title, though. Because, it's like, this film is cute. I would probably show it to my kids. I don't know if they'd be interested, because this is very 1991. The only thing missing would have been Pauly. I am so happy this was not made into a Pauly Shore movie, because it seems type of movie, where it could have easily gone that way. But like you said, it's endearing. It's a likable movie. It's probably next to Booker, the crowning achievement in Richard Grieco's career, unless you want to count that TV movie where he thinks he's the reincarnation of Billy the Kid. The less said about that, the better. But yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I actually highly recommend it. This is something that should have like one of those steel box editions. But my question was it a big hit, or was it more of a hit on video and cable?
I feel like it was a hit on video and cable, because there's probably potential that they could have done a franchise if it had been successful. But between this and Mobsters, nobody was really calling Richard Grieco to headline their movie after this.
Yeah, who would have known that this was the better of the two?
I even wonder, too, because he did Mobsters. He was playing Bugsy Siegel, and Warren Beatty played Bugsy in his movie, maybe he started blackballing him.
I just don't see Warren. Like, this kid thinks he's better looking than me. And fuck you, Grieco. Your career is over. He could have just watched Mobsters and known, yeah, my Bugsy's a lot better. I will now. I love Christian Slater, and even I will say Mobsters was bad.
That was just
Patrick Dempsey, Richard Costas Mandylor. That was his big screen debut.
They thought that was gonna be like Young Guns, but in the Untouchables.
I think that's what they were hoping for, and then they realized this shit is kind of crappy.
So, Patrick Dempsey.
It's like, but hey, at the time, those were the teen stars that were big. Maybe one day, if we can find a copy, we'll talk about Mobsters.
It's around.
Not as glowingly as this movie, though.
Roger Ebert liked this movie.
Well, see, to me, that gives it even more of a panache to it. Because, like I said, there's nothing other than, like you said, maybe the miscasting at the time. There's nothing really bad about the movie. But my question, who would you have cast? We're thinking in 1991 terms, who could have played the role maybe better?
I think Sean Astin could have done it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. They wouldn't have called it If Looks Could Kill, though.
It probably would have been Teen Agent.
Ooh, I would have gone with Nothing But Trouble.
What about Kirk Cameron?
If he wasn't
a religious nut,
we would have never gotten that scene in the hotel room. He was like, premarital sex. No way.
Would Dan Schneider play his best friend?
Probably. He was still around playing those roles, unless they were going to give it to Arvid. Be like, Dan, we've heard you have kind of a problem. We can't have you in this movie. Or Brian
Robbins could have done this.
Exactly. He would have been perfect and better looking than the guy who played his best friend. Then it would have been like, who's better looking, Brian Robbins or Grieco? Just watching this movie, just the casting alone, whenever I hear the name Richard Grieco, first of all, I think of that stupid Night at the Roxbury movie where he played himself. And I don't know if you saw that Growing Pains episode where Ben dreams himself inside of he's a teen star and Growing Pains is the show. And then there's that nerd guy who's supposed to be like the Wizard of Oz. And he's like, get me Urkel. That's what I think of anytime I hear of Richard Grieco. Get me Grieco. That would be instead of Get the Gringo, it should have been called Get Grieco. That is a catchy title for some reason. Yeah. But also, this show reminded me, I don't know, because I'm a slight bit older than you. Do you remember there was a teen spy show called Beans Baxter on Fox?
I heard of Beans Baxter, but never watched it, though.
This show reminds me of that show, except Beans Baxter it wasn't a case of mistaken identity. He became a spy to replace his father. So that's, watching this film, it was like, this premise is a little similar, inept teenage agent, sent out on these dangerous missions and nobody knows whatever happened to him. But, I liked this film, obviously more because it's more memorable than Beans Baxter. Nobody brings that up. But I really enjoyed this movie. And I still, it's dated, but I think it still holds up. If I had kids, I'd have no problem showing them this movie. And
it was also a good break between the fact that you had the last Bond movie, which was License to Kill, and that was more of a revenge thriller than a traditional Bond movie. And of course, this kind of filled the gap before Brosnan with GoldenEye. So it was kind of like a nice throwback as well as just being a spoof.
Yeah, and it's more of a comedic look at a little bit of the ridiculousness of those types of stories and movies, as well as being one. So I guess a little bit of a squeamish for its day, except unfortunately it wasn't a hit movie until after it was released, and more in reputation more than, and probably Fox Family Channel always playing it probably also helped later for its development and popularity.
Yeah, I saw it a lot on HBO. They were playing it every day the summer that it hit video.
I believe it because it was probably an exclusive. It's like, hey, we finally got this film that none of you paid to see, so watch it here.
It was a back-to-back between that and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
It was like a Fox 5-a-thon over
Yeah,
there.
pretty much. A good time waster during the summer.
Yeah, and both films, both beloved. Or Keith Coogan could have played the best friend in this
He
film.
could have played the agent.
It could be, but it would have to be more tailor-made for him.
Yeah.
Because supposedly, once they got Grieco, they had to change the script to tailor-make it for him. And I'd be like, could you say he was taking growth hormones or something? That's why he looks so damn old? Or maybe he was on steroids. Or he's a super senior.
Have you seen him lately? Like, I'm worried for his health.
Well, he's gotten older and lost his hair. Yeah,
but he has like this huge bushy beard. He's wearing sunglasses, and he lost a lot of weight.
I don't know what. I know he probably kind of had a drug problem in the early 2000s. I don't know if it continued or if he got clean. I mean, when he did Night at the Roxbury, he still pretty much looked the same. But how long ago was that movie?
Yeah, 97.
So, I mean, I don't know. Does he still work?
Yeah, mostly like straight B movies and straight to video. But last big thing was 22 Jump Street, his cameo.
He looked healthy there. He didn't look too bad. I'll tell you who's looking healthy. Aoki. From 21 Jump Street. Yeah, because I saw him in that show Warrior, and I'm like, damn, he looks better now than he did on the show. He's got muscles and not a bad haircut. That is time proficient. But then again, he's been kind of looking better since. Do you remember the show She Spies?
Yeah.
And VIP. And I think he did both of those shows. And with Pamela Anderson. Well, do you have anything or any other trivia about If Looks Could Kill?
Yeah. So Gabrielle Noir's character was named after Mariska Hargitay because Fred Decker went to school with Mariska, and I guess they decided to keep the name. They shot in Montreal. They didn't shoot in France, so they actually did a pretty good job doubling for that. And the gold coins were made out of chocolate.
I wonder if some crew member was picking out on the last day, yeah.
Oh man, I would have been picking out.
It's like, I mean, like I said, the final word on this film. Wait, do you have a favorite scene from the movie?
Probably either the thing with the gadgets or the fight scene with the guy on the gold. Let's try to save his friends, and he's fighting on the gold pit. That was pretty good.
Yes, with the guy with the metal hand who didn't talk.
And the scene with Areola. That's hilarious.
That's my favorite scene. The whole movie is the Areola, and kind of when the French teacher shows up to be truly the commando that everybody thinks she is. That would be my second favorite scene.
But I also like when they're on the airplane the first time. He's not supposed to be first class, and they keep throwing her into the bathroom and slapping her around.
I also like the scene with Linda Hunt where she's supposed to be playing this, I guess, maid, and her boss keeps coming up to her and ordering her around, and finally she just kills her because she's tired of being ordered around. That's definitely a memorable scene.
What is this? Food.
Any last words about If Looks Could Kill?
I recommend it. It's still fun after all these years, and like I said, Richard Grieco, not the first choice for this, but he actually is fun.
I agree. I definitely highly recommend this film, and if you can find it, seek it out, enjoy it, and tell it to all your friends. And so that ends this episode of Unfinished Business Television Deep Dive. So until next time, we bid you adieu.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.